For those of you that don't know you, my name is Jamie. I am the bearded guru here. And today I actually wanted to bring some tips and tricks for new white label digital marketing partners that are going to be working with us. So, this will take a few minutes. If it's something you guys have heard before, great. If not, take a note of it. And I look forward to hearing your guys' feedback. So when I speak to digital marketing partners, I divide people into two very distinctive camps. Three actually, if you want to be honest. So camp number one are, the new digital marketing resellers who have a really strong background in like web development, IT. You guys have been running your agencies for a while and you just want to add more services to what it is you're already offering and just don't have the ability to produce it, or they want to have an in-house person produce it. So you basically understand the technical side of WordPress and Joomla and SEO, and you guys get the concept of it, but you just don't have a full want to do it yourself. Then in camp two, we have the folks who have a sales background, but they don't have necessarily the technical basis of the understanding of what SEO, PPC, paid ads, etc. is. And then our third camp is everybody else that kind of fits in between, because there's always some overlap that goes on for that. Now, if you're one of these folks in these camps, I'm going to give you my advice, and advice that I wish I had received when I first started. So number one, if you don't have a sales background and you're technical, don't underestimate the complexity of selling. You may be good at it, and you may have already, had to do it just because in your agency you've had to make website sales, or you've worked for somebody else that has leads already incoming in, and so you didn't have to sell for it. But now you've branched out and wanted to do it. The agency, your agency or the one you worked for, had a really stellar reputation. It's been established for a while. And so because of that, you were able to make sales that came along with it. And if that's the case, don't underestimate what you're gonna have to do in the sales line to get your agency founded. You're gonna have to build up your reputation. You're gonna have to build up your portfolio. You're gonna have to figure out a lead pipeline, where you're going to want those leads to come in, how they're going to come in. You're going to have to go out there and really figure out how you're going to bring these leads in for long-term sustainability. Now, if you're somebody that's in camp two and you don't have the technical background, I want you to not underestimate the need for a technical background to it. I'm not saying that being a white label partner has a super hard learning curve that comes to it, because I'm going to be honest with you, as a sales guy, you can sell almost anything without knowing very much about all the technical aspects of what you're selling. However, with that being said, you can easily be tripped up if you develop like an understanding or a Wikipedia in your mind of knowledge that has learning gaps, which is one of the largest problems I see with our white label partners. They learn about one service, SEO, but they don't learn about paid ads, or they learn about paid ads and not SEO. And so they're out there and they're selling this one product, and they're really not understanding how another product working together builds a nice foundation. So they don't have that strong foundation. It's kind of built on these little hills and divots and things like that. And we all know, even if we don't have a construction background, what happens when you don't have a foundation that's stone cold solid. It's going to break. It's going to fall in. So I want you to take the time to study and self-study, ask questions. Don't sit there and hammer support thinking that we're able to educate you just through emails or text messages back and forth, because you're still gonna have gaps in your knowledge. And don't take that as, if you're a white label partner, don't email us or send us a message. But we really want to make sure you get educated. So, you're sitting in a world that makes things so easy to be educated nowadays. You are selling online now, which means you can find what it is you need to find out online. So if you really want to get educated, between our channel as well as many other channels out there I can recommend, you will be able to self-educate. There are a ton of videos, posts, blogs, endless things out there to educate you on the different tools, the different services, not so you can provide them yourself, but so you have an understanding for it. The agency owners that we have seen be super successful may not be providing what it is they're selling, but they understand it and can thus sell it because they have enough understanding to answer those questions and also make sure that any of the pushback they get from leads they're able to respond to. Like, oh, I heard SEO is this really bad service. Like, nobody does it anymore. Things like that. If you have an understanding of it, you can push back a little bit on that. And I'm going to be honest, most of the people that work in this industry, they didn't get into it because they got a college education. They got into it because they needed to or they wanted to. Started off as a hobby, and then they really started learning how everything works. Many of you know my story. I got into the agency world specifically because I got tired of seeing contractors getting screwed over by marketing agencies that were taking advantage of them. So I started working with somebody, became his business development, head of business development, then purchased the agency. We sold the agency, started Beard Marketing. I got into it and I had to learn through education and asking questions. So, maybe at this moment it's a hobby for you. You have to work a 9 to 5. But if you, and that's fine. And that makes sense. And I understand it. But if you treat it like a hobby, it will always be a hobby. You will need to do some research on your end, do some homework, take things seriously, figure out how everything needs to roll to make sure it happens. In some of the other videos, we have apps that can help downloads, make your life easier, apps we work with, things like that. You have to pay attention and take notes. Every video that we produce or blog that we produce has been created on a specific reason for educating you guys on how to become the best agency partners possible. Doesn't matter what service you're selling or product. It could be SEO, PPC, websites, geo marketing, and anything that falls in between. In reality, technical services that are required to sell, you have to be somewhat successful at. Again, you don't have a large learning curve. My wife can sell SEO and she can sell paid ads, even though she doesn't understand what actually goes into it. She understands how they work. Okay. So for everybody that is out there scared to get going into this because there's just so much to learn, like I said, just take the time, learn the basics, and you will be fine. You'll be great with everything that you do. Now on the benefit of this is, you're going to be creating something that requires very little work after setup and has a huge upside potential. So no matter what it is you do in life, you have to put out some work. There's a few white label partners I was chatting with the other day, and they were like, yeah, it's so hard. I've got to get on the phone. I've got to send out these cold emails. I've got to do all this. And honestly, I started to cringe a little bit because I don't care what job I've ever worked at. It has always been harder than what I do today, selling and doing services. Like, I've always worked harder in every other job. This job, well, it requires mental thought process. It's not difficult. It's actually more difficult to not sell it and come up with reasons on why you can't move forward than it is to sell the services. I'm not knocking you if you're starting off and you haven't had any clients. Please don't take that as an insult. because it is a major stumbling block for a lot of people. But they get around it because they find the inner motivation to really say, you know what, I don't care. I don't care that I don't want a cold call. I don't care that I don't want a cold email. I have to do this, and it's got to get done. And so because they got that motivation, they take the resources that are provided. They're like, yes, and they make it. And then we've also seen the folks that haven't been motivated. They don't use the resources provided, and they fail. A lot of people fail because they have excuses. I don't understand how SEO works. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not very sales oriented. I'm not technical enough. I am terrible at whatever. It doesn't matter. Excuses have been a huge reason on why people fail. So I'm going to tell you a story. I met some amazing people as a coach for a community over at WP Elevation, run by Troy Dean and some other amazing coaches. And there was a guy that is 17, just turned 18, and he's already kicking butt in the world. He works 8, 10, 12-hour days. He's selling like crazy. He's building up his business. He's doing it. So it doesn't matter how young you are. And then on the flip side, we have some agency partners that are up there in 60s and 70s. And you know what? They're kicking butt too, because they are not using excuses. They are saying this has to get done. Every day I wake up and I say, you know what? I got to make sure my family's fed. I got to make sure bills are paid. I have to make sure each one of my employees can come to work and I can afford to pay them. And so I do not allow myself to have excuses. And again, excuses are not a bad thing, but do not let them rule how you do your work. Do not let your personalities rule, past rule, all that. Do not let them rule who you are. Okay? You can overcome all of the minor hurdles of figuring out this industry, being successful. So I wanted to make this originally what I thought was going to be short and sweet of advice to new, agency partners. It's going to end up being a little bit longer than short, but hopefully it does give you the advice on that. So if you love this video and you haven't done it, go ahead and subscribe down below. Click that like button on this video, and also make sure you click that ring so you can get notified as new videos come out. I'm going to see you guys on the flip side, and have a wonderful day. And again, welcome to the Beard Nation. Catch you later.